Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. Starting a new life, the Ukrainian refugees who found a place to call home thanks to a family in East Kent.
I feel happy. I'm very happy with this happiness because I feel safe now.
More children arrested after a 13-year-old is stabbed in Worthing. People there tell us they're worried about antisocial behaviour.
Terrorising retailers, spitting at them and stuff like that, so it's becoming a bit of a concern really.
Also this Tuesday evening, why the future could be uncertain for travelling communities like Jake's.
And how Morgan from Herne Bay became top dog at this year's Crufts. Good evening. Some of the first Ukrainian families with no links to the UK are starting to arrive in the southeast as major changes to the visa scheme come into force.
Sergei Kaletvinov has settled in Kent after spending more than a week waiting for his wife and children's visas to be approved in France. But that shouldn't be the case for other Ukrainian families who can now fill out their visas online and travel to England to complete them.
It comes as more than 100,000 people across the country have signed up to host Ukrainian refugees. Joe Caution is live from Gatwick Airport for us tonight. So, Joe, a huge number of hosts, but not too many families have arrived yet because it's far more complicated than that.
Yes, that's right, Sangeeta. It's a bit more of a feeler, really, to see how many British families have expressed an interest in taking in Ukrainian refugees. That's because when you fill out a form, it asks you certain questions like how many people can you take in, how long for, and whether it's accessible, your spare room. Now, the key question is, which was a stumbling block for many individuals I met over in France last week, was naming that Ukrainian family, and that was preventing many families I met over in France from applying for visas. You may remember we met Sergei last week. He had permanent residency in the UK, but his family did not. Well, I'm pleased to say now they all do, and he's one of the first families to arrive here in the southeast. So I've been to see how they're settling in. After being crammed in a car travelling across Europe, 8-year-old Elisa finally has somewhere to practice her gymnastics again. She was preparing for a tournament in her hometown of Kharkiv 2 weeks ago, before their lives were turned upside down. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Oksana serves up borscht, a popular Ukrainian soup. They're starting to settle in now, and are keen to do whatever they can to show their hosts how grateful they are. But it doesn't stop the worrying, and there are mental scars that remain.
I even don't think about the war, but I can't, because every 15 minutes news is coming on my phone, and I watch and I worry anyway. Simon sometimes is ask me, boom, 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 boom. He's remembers.
And he's two. He's two years old.
Yeah, two and a half.
Yeah, and he almost can sense what was going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Sergei knows they are some of the lucky ones. An integral part to their arrival is down to their meeting in Calais with North Thanet MP Sir Roger Gale, who helped them to find a place to stay in Kent. But there are fears many other Ukrainian refugees could get lost in the system, because unlike Sergei, they haven't paired up with hosts back in the UK.
It could be very difficult. I think what we need is a meet and greet system. I've said over and over again, and I will go on saying, there is a facility at Manston Barracks which can process 1,000 people a day. Bring them across the channel on the ferry, take them by coach straight to Manston. They can be processed. We can meet and greet there, pair them up with the families that have come to see them, get them clothes, get them toys, because we've got warehouses full of them now, a hangar full of them at Manston, and we can make it work. And our job, I think, is to make it work, not find reasons why it can't be done.
If situations change, we want to back home, but business is destroyed. Everything is finished. We have to do everything from zero.
Right now, it may feel like a long way back for Sergei's family, but they still have their talents, they still have one another, and they now have a community that wants to help them rebuild their lives.
So nice to see. So Sergei has been linked up with the family, Joe, at least for the time being, but many other families who'll come don't yet know where they'll be going.
No, that's right. There's still a lot of uncertainty for many other families, Sangeeta. Ukrainian nationals will be able to start their visa applications online today, but what was holding them up last week was the biometric checks, the facial recognition, the fingerprints. They can now be completed in the UK, so that will start to give Ukrainian refugees some hope that they will be able to land here at Gatwick and on the Eurostar in the coming days. Just talking of Eurostar, they are offering free trains from some of their Western European destinations. But in terms of pairing up those 100,000 households with Ukrainians, that application process, apologies for the plane in the background, that application process begins on Friday. So then we will start to see in the coming days families being paired up. And just like Sergei, they can start to begin a new life here.
Joe, in Gatwick, thank you.
Sussex police say they're increasing patrols across Worthing following the stabbing of a 13-year-old boy in the town centre. They say they're responding to concerns about the rise in youth violence and antisocial behaviour in the area.
7 children aged between 12 and 15 have been arrested in relation to the incident in Chapel Road on Sunday.
Well, Derek Johnson is there for us this evening. And Derek, very real concerns where you are about violence involving really young people.
Yes, indeed, Matt. The people we've spoken to here today are very shocked at what happened. Shocked in particular, I think, at just how young those are who are arrested, the youngest of whom was 12. This attack, it took place around where I'm standing here, around this pedestrianised area. At the time, police actually sent armed officers to deal with it. The good news is that 13-year-old boy, although he's still in hospital being treated for wounds to his torso, his injuries, they are not life-threatening. So when we've spoken to people with conversations today, they said what they've been particularly alarmed about is that there seems to be an escalation, that over the last few weeks there have been a number of antisocial incidents here, people being threatened, and incidents of criminal damage as well.
One of the females who worked for me recently actually got spat at as she tried to enter the shop about 6 weeks ago now. So it's becoming more of a worry, yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of the young people are probably bored, got nothing else to do and just decide to do silly things.
There has been a bit of a spike of antisocial behaviour over the last couple of years, but then I think there has been in every town. You know, it is a really lovely town to live, so I just feel sorry for all those concerned.
We're actually looking to move to Worthing, so because we think it is a nice town, but there is an element here, yes, for sure.
And some people came up to us today who didn't want to be on camera to tell us that they've been genuinely scared over the last few weeks with youths coming up and threatening violence towards them. Police say this is, of course, still an active investigation. For a while they put up a drone to look at this entire area, and they've also asked if anybody's got CCTV footage of what happened or maybe even filmed it on their phone to get in touch. Well, we asked the police to give us an interview on camera. They declined to do that, but they did release a statement in which they said youth violence in Worthing would not be tolerated. They said that it was unacceptable, but they also said that they understood that people in the community were very concerned, understood the background and all those incidents that we've been talking about. We've certainly seen an increase in foot patrols here. That will continue over the next few days, and those youths who were arrested, they've been bailed for the moment as Sussex Police continue their inquiries.
OK, Derek in Worthing, thank you very much.
Refuse collectors in Sussex have gone on strike over pay. Workers for Ada and Worthing Council say their industrial action will last a fortnight.
Well, the council says it's offered the bin lorry drivers an increase of more than 12%, but unions say many workers will receive less than £4 extra a week. Malcolm Shaw reports.
Refuse workers were on the picket line outside their depot in Lancing from early this morning. Members of the GMB have walked out in a dispute over pay. The bin lorries going nowhere.
The GMB union will not stand and suffer poor pay for our members. That's the bottom line. This is why it's the GMB across every single sector that is fighting for our members. Our members are struggling to put food on the table, and we will not tolerate that. Our members have made it very, very clear they want to be paid a decent wage, and we will fight any council for that for our members.
The same union has been involved in similar disputes in Brighton and Eastbourne in recent months. Those led to huge piles of rubbish in the streets. Ada and Worthing councils condemn the action here.
The HGV drivers themselves have received a 12.7% pay increase and other staff 6%, and that's on top of the national pay increases. So when you then compare that with all of the other councils across the South Coast where GMB have taken industrial action, we've actually increased our pay and have offered a settlement far and above what those councils have already offered.
But the union says that for many workers, the pay rise means less than £4 a week after tax.
This is the second day of the strike, so its effects are only just starting to be felt. But with the industrial action set to last up to 2 weeks, it's anyone's guess when these bins will next be emptied.
So how do local residents feel about the strike?
If they've got a grievance, I think they should strike, but obviously there needs to be arbitration between the two.
I don't think that they should go on strike, really, because they had all the money from the government in the last 2 years.
We've got to get rid of our rubbish in a quick and tidy way, and if they get left in the road, the vermin will come and play havoc.
Both sides in the dispute say they're willing to talk, but blame each other for the apparent stalemate. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Lancing.
Next, in an ordinary house in the middle of an ordinary residential street in Hove in Sussex, a quiet revolution in education is underway. Behind its front door is the South's first so-called micro school, which currently has just 18 pupils on its books.
It's proving popular with families looking for an alternative to mainstream classrooms. Our social affairs correspondent Christine Alsford spent the day finding out why they think small is beautiful.
Morning drop-off for most parents is at the school gates. But at Hove's newest and smallest school, it's the narrow hallway of an unassuming terrace.
You could stick the notes in.
The micro school is the brainchild of founder Rachel Amari. It's taken over her life and her house.
This is actually your home? It is. That used to be my living room. Yeah, I'm slowly getting pushed out. But yeah, I love what it's turned into.
Import it from West Africa.
What it's turned into is a school for primary-age children that blends the ideas of home education and more formal schooling. Here, there are no class sizes of 30.
We're much smaller, set in a home environment. You know, they wear their own clothes. But also they get the expert teacher inputs that they would in mainstream.
There's no question that this is a school that's very different. There's no playground, there's no school dining hall, and the two classrooms are simply named upstairs and downstairs.
It's very fiddly, isn't it?
There's a flexible timetable and lots of individualised learning. The aim here is to fit the school around the child and not have the child fit into the school.
Oh my God.
It's an approach that certainly suits Cecily and her family.
My daughter has cerebral palsy, and whilst not a noticeable, if you like, disability for her, she has a speech disorder. She needs people to be paying attention to her, to really listen, and she gets that here.
You can only buy certain packets.
The micro school idea comes from America, where parents buy in tutors to teach groups of home-educated pupils in private homes. Hove Micro School has flipped the idea, so Rachel's kitchen is now the staff room, yoga club is in the sitting room, and there are lots of days out for fresh air and exercise. Nevertheless, progress is still being carefully monitored.
We have daily observation sheets and we record exactly what they've done and where they are and their next steps as well.
5-year-old Leo's been here since October and he's making good progress.
The setting does just feel like you're walking into a home, and I love that the kind of learning opportunities that offers in terms of you don't have to be kind of sat at your desk looking up at the board.
Is it small is beautiful as far as you're concerned?
Yes, I think for Leo, for our son at this age, it was absolutely perfect.
So we're going to put our pen on the paper.
Parents say activities where all age groups mix together mean they're confident their children are receiving all the socialisation they need. The school may be small, but it's making a big impact on those who don't believe that one size fits all.
See
Christine's here to tell us more. So, Christine, can anyone set up a school like this?
Well, in theory, yes, but probably in practice, no, it's not easy. There is a lot to it. You need a lot of expert knowledge. You also need funding. And also you have to register your school with the Department for Education. And then it's very closely monitored by either Ofsted or the equivalent body for the independent sector. So it's not easy.
There's a part of it that seems really appealing, but I can't be the only person wondering how much it would cost to send your child there.
Yeah, it is a private school and the cost is around £65 to £70 a day. It depends how many days you send your child for. Pupils go for between 1 and 4 days a week, and that's because it's not full time, because the rest of the time pupils are being taught by their parents at home.
So why are micro schools popular now?
Yeah, well, in the COVID lockdowns, if you remember, everybody was teaching their children geography in the living room. And a lot more parents have decided that there's a lot of value in that. And they really like the kind of intimate and informal feel of the school, the micro school. And this obviously gives them the perfect model.
Although I guess for some children, it might not necessarily suit every child.
No, it doesn't suit every child, potentially those who need to run around and let off steam in a big playground at lunchtime and at break time, and also perhaps those that need a more formal timetable, or even those that just benefit from having more pupils their own age. But it is a popular idea, so it could be that you have a micro school coming to a semi or a terrace next to you.
Very interesting. Christine, thank you.
Right, let's get a check on the ITV Evening News, which is, of course, on after us. With the details about what's coming up on their programme, here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, Kyiv's most dangerous moment. The mayor announces a new curfew after Russian shelling intensifies. The Russian TV journalist who disappeared after her anti-war protest finally reappears in court. Big developments in the case of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe. We will have the latest and...
Tell Chelsea to get their shin pads on and their boots on and play the damn game.
Chelsea faced the wrath of MPs for asking for special treatment following government sanctions. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Thank you, Mary. A mother from Kent who's been fitted with a cutting-edge bionic arm says being able to hold hands with both her boys is a game changer.
Amy Brown from Ashford, who was born without her lower left arm, is calling for the electric limbs known as hero arms to be made freely available to more people. Sarah Saunders went to find out more.
This is the hero arm, and it works with 6 sensors, 3 each side, and when I flex the left muscle it opens, and then when I flex the right muscle it closes, and then if I try and do them both together it will move the thumb, and then I can do a thumbs up.
It's taken weeks for Amy Brown to learn to use her new electronic hero arm. It operates by picking up electrical signals from small muscles she hasn't really used before.
I'm still learning how to use it because I'm not an amputee. I was born with my arm the way it is, so I don't have the muscle memory.
Born without the lower section of her left arm, Amy was fitted with a basic prosthetic at 6 months old. It was just cosmetic, not functional, and it's the only one she's ever used.
I didn't have any prosthetics before because the prosthetics on the NHS didn't do anything, and they were just a heavy bit of thing that it didn't move.
Right now on the NHS, most people with upper limbs missing are offered a non-moving prosthetic or a single grip mechanical device. Amy had to raise £10,000 to self-fund her arm.
It is a great shame that they're not available on the NHS because they are absolutely incredible and they are life-changing. So I think it will be a great cause if they could be funded, especially for children.
This cutting-edge bionic arm was built by Hampshire-based Limb Solutions.
Hero arm is one of the first multi-articulated electronic hands. So when the patient operates them with their muscles, all the fingers move rather than the old-fashioned ones, which were just the index, middle and the thumb.
For the first time, Amy can now hold hands with both her children at the same time.
What do you think of Mummy's hero arm?
Good. 28 years of not using a prosthetic. No, I don't. I thought, no, I don't need it. I'll be fine. But then when you've actually got it and you're using it and you think, oh my God, this actually will help, it's life-changing, yeah. And it's incredible.
One of 100 tiny moments in a day transformed by her new limb. Sarah Saunders, ITV News, Ashford.
Now, new laws cracking down on illegal encampments by travellers are expected to come into force later this year. The government is turning trespass from a civil into a criminal offence, punishable by up to 3 months in prison and fines of up to £2,500.
Campaigners say the legislation, which is part of the Police Crime Sentencing in Courts Bill, is unnecessary and will target communities already feeling victimised. With our story, here's Kevin Ashford.
David Sanger comes from a family of travelling showmen. He takes his hand-built Victorian-style horse-drawn theatre to performances around the country. David stays overnight on roadside verges or private land that he's been invited onto. It's been the way he's lived for much of his life after deciding he had to leave the town he grew up in.
I couldn't stand being in one place. I couldn't stand the whole mentality of the people that live there, you know, although I grew up with some lovely people and some really good friends, you know, I made good friends there, I had to get away. It was just, yeah.
Travellers like David, as well as people in other communities who live a nomadic lifestyle, such as Romani gypsies and Irish travellers, could be affected by proposed legislation from the government. It wants to target unauthorised encampments, making it a criminal offence to reside on land without permission. The government has been collecting data on the number of traveller caravans since 1979. According to the local authorities in the southeast that responded in 2020, there were more than 1,800 caravans in the region, of which more than 250 were on unauthorised sites, that is, ones without planning permission. Jake Bowers, who lives near Hastings, is a trained blacksmith. Metalworking has a long tradition in the Romani community that he's a member of. He's also a journalist and filmmaker, and one of the organisers of a campaign against the proposed new law, which he says is unnecessary.
I can understand why they would want to legislate against antisocial, unauthorised encampments. The fact is, however, that the law already has provisions for that. The 1994 Criminal Justice Act has very strong, if not draconian, police powers to move people on. Members of my community are routinely convoyed from one county to another. That is unthinkable that would happen to any other ethnic group.
A government spokesperson said the majority of travellers are law-abiding and we respect their right to follow a nomadic way of life. They added, no one should have unchecked rights to trespass on other people's land without their permission and cause harm and boundless misery to local communities without consequence. Jake says a protest is planned on March the 19th against the legislation, which is now in its final stages of going through Parliament and is set to get royal assent later this year. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now, a teenager from Kent has won 2 top prizes at Junior Crufts.
Morgan Tate Shoesmith, who's 14, scooped the Junior Groomer of the Year award, as well as Young Show Handler for 2022.
Well, Morgan trains and grooms her dogs herself from her home in Herne Bay, as Abigail Bracken reports.
Perfecting the skills that won Morgan Tate Shoesmith 2 top prizes at Crufts this weekend. Styling her cockapoo stitched to perfection to become Junior Groomer of the Year for a second time, as well as scooping the Young Handler title too.
I actually thought I did really bad compared to all the others. Watching all the other handlers, I thought they were amazing. I was speechless at first. I didn't know what to think because it was like a new thing. I didn't actually think I'd won until I was on the podium getting pictures taken, and it was like, oh my God, I'm actually here.
Morgan won the Junior Groomer title for the first time when she was just 11. But this year she was the best young handler too.
Handler of the Year goes to Morgan!
Beating competitors 10 years older than her, with Cuba, the standard poodle, running perfectly round the ring at Crufts in Birmingham.
I did
shed a tear when she won the Handler of the Year, because that was real tough competition. I'm not saying the Groomer of the Year wasn't, but Morgan's not done a lot of handling, believe it or not. So to win Handler of the Year there was amazing handlers in there. So that was probably my proudest moment.
Morgan is now training Cuba in her back garden in Herne Bay with the aim of entering the agility competition next year and hoping to prove how versatile poodles can be. Abigail Bracken, ITV News.
Yes. Oh, Morgan has got Cuba well trained.
That dog does things I can't get my kids to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Very well
Well,
behaved.
you need to kind of, get in touch with
More treats, maybe. Right, let's talk about the weather. Holly is here. Now, you're going to take us to Spain, is that right?
I am. Shall we take a look at what Spain has been like the last couple of days? So this is yesterday in Andalusia, and actually now it's not just Spain, it's parts of France, parts of Switzerland. We're seeing these really eerie, orangey red photos coming in. Okay. And it's thanks to Saharan dust. So if you take a look at this weather map, there is a storm that's been near the Canaries, Storm Celia. Around it, some strong winds have been developing. Those winds have picked up the Saharan dust. Then we've developed southerly winds, and those winds have been feeding that dust across parts of Western Europe. Okay. So I'm going to show you a satellite picture, colourful one here, I know how you like them. This is effectively a photo from space. Hopefully you can make out what's going on. So you've got Northern Africa there at the bottom, up the top you've got the UK, and in the middle we're looking there at France and Spain. But can you see this sort of stripe of sandy coloured
We can now, thanks to your graphic skills.
This is that plume of Saharan dust, so you can physically see this plume from space.
Which begs the question.
Yep. Is it going to come here?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, it is touch and go, but it may do. So tomorrow we might just see it sort of nudging our way. If we do, we're talking maybe some nice sunrises and sunsets, but also, of course, it could come down. So we're expecting rain tomorrow. And if it brings that Saharan dust to the surface, you could start to see some very grubby looking cars.
OK, so don't bother washing them yet.
Not in the short term, yeah. Maybe pop it in the garage.
Holly, thank you. Let's get your full forecast now. Here's Holly.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
We've got some changes afoot with our weather. In fact, two changes really. It gets worse and then it gets better. I think for tomorrow, not a great look to things. Tonight we're seeing things turning cloudier, murkier. Tomorrow, outbreaks of rain, although some uncertainty about the exact timing and location on the rain. But then after that, some sunshine dominating. There will be some chilly nights, maybe a bit of mist and fog around as well, and the breeze starts to pick up too. You'll probably notice that, especially into the coast. But on balance, some nice sunshine to end the week. So before we get there, we've got a couple of weather fronts approaching, one bringing milder air from the continent, one bringing chillier air. They combine, they bring some rain, but then as that clears through, so this high pressure dominates to end the week. At the moment though, where we're starting to see more in the way of some low cloud feeding in, they could turn a bit murky in places, the cloud could get thick enough for a touch of drizzle, but temperature shouldn't fall away too far. So fairly mild, 8-9 degrees, certainly milder than last night, and that's the way we start our Wednesday morning. A little bit cloudy, a little bit murky, perhaps a little bit damp, a few showers through the morning. But you can see this more organised rain gathering out behind me. As I say, a bit of uncertainty about the timing on this. Could be quite lively. There could be an odd rumble of thunder or two perhaps, and that all spills its way eastwards as we head through the latter part of the afternoon and into the evening. Our high tide times, you've got just the one at Chatham at 11:49. And finally the outlook. Well, after tomorrow, we've got some decent weather. Yes, the breeze starts to pick up. I think you'll especially notice that for coastal areas. Some chilly nights, a bit of mist and fog on occasion, but by day we should see a good deal of sunshine. Take care.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is it from us for the time being. I'm back with a late update just after 10:30.
For now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you for your company. Let's do it again, same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.